Bro, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to afford rent this month. I don't know what to do. I would probably say 6 months ago was the last time I fell off with my health. I gained probably around 20 kilos.
What's the toughest part of guiding clients through Ramadan?
A lot of people get wrong in Ramadan is they train for progress. Like, I want to get stronger, I want to lose all this body weight because I'm not going to be eating barely anything XYZ, but that's not the main priority of Ramadan.
Do you think uni is just a waste of time?
You know, that's probably a biggest regret of mine, is wasting my time in university, because what I came to learn from doing a physiotherapy course in university was it literally does not matter. Education isn't for everyone, because the school education system is very, very outdated.
You mentioned ego playing a part in the gym.
If you want to have an ego battle with someone, change the perception from heavier weights to who can control the weight for the longest on the way down.
What is the idea behind eating with a baby spoon?
I can understand why it seems a little bit crazy, but there is some kind of thought behind it. I didn't just throw out all my big spoons one day.
As an entrepreneur, we're always told, marry later on, first focus on the job.
I think when you choose a life partner, whether you're a female or a guy, and you're choosing a wife or a husband, I think that's single-handedly the most important decision of your life. When I got there, probably 2 days in, she texted me saying, it's not working, let's just stop speaking. It came to a point where this is kind of emotional, bro.
How did you cut off those people that you needed to cut off to succeed?
I'll be like, look, bro, I'm being serious, man. Like, I don't think we can hang out anymore, you know? And I'll be honest, but it was like quite upsetting. And I was on my own. Like, when I left that group, I was on my own. I didn't have anybody. Literally no one. And it's tough, man.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 6th episode of the FMU Founders Mindset Unfiltered podcast. I'm joined here today with a guest who has nearly 7 years experience in the fitness industry. He decided to start an online fitness coaching service called Sunnah Service Coaching, where he helps and guides Muslims that want to become a better version of themselves and guides them not just accordingly to their current lifestyle, but also according to Islam teachings. Since the introduction of the service, he has worked with 300 plus people and successfully helped them achieve goals that they didn't even dream was ever possible. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Aran Işik to the podcast. Aran, it's lovely to have you join us today.
Nice to meet you, bro. Yeah, that's a banging intro, bro. I'll be honest. That was good. I was ready for it. I was waiting for it, man. That was good. Let's see if we can live up to the expectation of what you're painting me to be, bro.
Let's hope so. But no, Aran, you're a successful coach and you've worked with 300 plus clients. But what I want to know is, Aran, when did you last feel that you failed your own health or your own faith?
I think if we start with health, I'll be honest, it was quite recent. You know, I'm very experienced within, the health and fitness industry. I've been doing this for like 7+ years. But I got married probably about 6 months ago. And as a lot of brothers probably already know, when you get married, everything goes out the window. Routine, structure, gym, eating takeaways, going for dessert every night. It happens, right? So I would probably say 6 months ago was the last time I fell off with my health. I gained probably around 20 kilos. So I did a photo shoot where I was 78 kilos, maybe 76 actually. And then I went all the way up to about 92 in the space of 3 months, which, as a fitness coach, as someone who's helped these people, it's not the best kind of branding or advertisement for myself, but it happens, right? But obviously when that happened, I knew something needed to change. And what I ended up doing was I actually got a new business mentor for myself, but he also prescribed me a coach as well. And I'm now probably about 10 weeks out from doing my next photo shoot. So now I've lost all that weight, and genuinely it's not even been that difficult. To be honest, I've learned a lot myself. I've started implementing the strategies that he uses with me to my clients, just happen to be a better coach. Um, so that's kind of the last time, probably more recently than you thought. So anyway, when I kind of fell off the road with my own health and fitness, right? In terms of faith, it's a good question. Um, it's a very good question because I am very, I have a lot of faith and belief in my religion. Um, I don't think I could say I've ever lost belief, but there has been times whereby even, maybe even 12, 15 months ago, where the business wasn't where it is today. And I was charging ridiculously low prices, and I was still getting rejected every single call I took. I was getting no, too expensive, need to speak to my wife, need to do XYZ. And I was like, bro, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to afford rent this month. I don't know what to do. I wouldn't say I lost faith in my religion, but I was like, why are all these guys, they're making tens of thousands of pounds every month. And I'm working every day, 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. to make this business work. And still nothing. No results. Barely able to afford rent. Barely able to, put a clean plate of food on my plate every day, that is. And I would say I saw it at first as God was punishing me, but after I kind of reflected on it, I would say that it taught me a lot of grit and strength that I needed to actually continue with the business. All I needed to do was find a formula that worked and basically value stack the product and the service to a point where people would bite my hands off for the price that I charge now. Because what I charge right now is a lot more expensive than what I was charging 12 months ago. And that's because we've obviously implemented these systems and things. So I don't think I've ever lost faith. I think I've looked at it the wrong way before, if that answers your question.
With your journeys with your clients, why do you heavily push faith in? And why do you implement it in their journeys?
I think for us as Muslims specifically, it's often so basically Sunnah basically means the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's often a forgotten sunnah that people will forget to take care of their health. This doesn't have to be going to the gym. It doesn't have to be, eating 3 meals or fasting. It doesn't need to be any of these things that kind of take things extreme. Obviously, as Muslims, we do fast. But it's literally things that are so simple that are written in the Quran, such as portion control, eating slowly, sitting down to eat, sitting down to drink, all these little things. And all of the teachings of the Sunnah, which is kind of where the name of Sunnah Service Coaching comes from, they are applicable to today's exercise and health science. Very, very applicable. Now, the reason why I turned to that as kind of not a business model, but a pillar within the business, so to speak, is because there's so many guys, brothers and sisters, to be honest, that do things the wrong way. They'll cut carbs out of their diet. They will fast all day while just drinking coffee. They'll do all of these things, which predominantly in the short term may be able to get you some kind of results, right? May be able to lose a kilo a week, 2 kilos a week, whatever you want to do. But in the long term, what is the actual sacrifice that you're making just for the scale to go down by a kilo or two? That is where the holistic side of things that come in. So when I mentioned previously in terms of the value stack, we have a full holistic team that we work with, our clients. Okay, so we take their bloods, we give them a Whoop health wearable tracker, which basically tracks pretty much everything, which is pretty cool. And the reason for this is, as Muslims, usually we come from either the Middle East, Asia, these kinds of places, right? And we're automatically predisposed to, diabetes, heart attacks, all these different types of stuff. And we want to be able to minimize that as much as possible. So as a little side note for anyone who's watching who might want to work with me just because they want a 6-pack abs, big biceps, I will probably turn you away because it's not what I do. I can do it. I've done it before, but I don't enjoy doing it because anyone can do it. But it's when you actually want to look at all the analytical data, whether that's hormone levels. So for a male, it could be testosterone, cortisol, prolactin, estradiol, all these, fertility markers. This is the reason why we do all this. We don't do it just to look good on the beach for a week, and then you go back to eating, takeaways every Friday. That's not the reason why we do it. And I think that's something that a lot of people do appreciate as well, because that's kind of what took the business from this very low point I was at 12 months ago to now where I can charge pretty much whatever I want, and I don't have, that pressure of me feeling uncomfortable asking for a high ticket price. Because if you believe in your product, the product will sell itself. And obviously, if you have that faith, like if there's a Muslim business owner watching, if you have that faith in your religion, in Allah as well, things just come together. It's just glue. It just comes eventually, That makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So there's been a lot of thought that's been put into this before you release it, not just analytically, but also religiously as well. It's funny when I got told that this week we've got another fitness coach coming on. I was like, we've had one. How hard can it be? When I was doing some research, the first thing that stood out to me was that you only took on Muslims. So I was like, okay, this can be quite an interesting topic. I was like, we've hit the jackpot here. But what I want to know is why do you then zone down to a niche of helping out just Muslims? And why not? Why not? If someone's, let's say, a Catholic, and they wanna also get closer to faith, but also stay in shape as well. Why don't you take them on?
For myself, I've been, this business started, say 7 years ago, right? And when I pretty much COVID time, where I was just taking on a few clients here and there. I trained pretty much anyone, to be honest, anyone who would pay me a penny. But there comes a certain level of degree of what makes you stand out. Why would somebody come in and message me specifically to ask me for my service? There are a million different fitness coaches on the planet, bro. A lot of them are I've just got jacked. They don't know how to coach people, but people pay them because they look jacked, right? That's kind of how the game works sometimes. But for me, I'm in good shape. By all means, I'm no, Arnold. I'm no Chris Bumstead. Don't, I try to be, bro. I try to look okay, right? But and I say this to a lot of the people that I coach as well. So I coach people for business as well in terms of starting up their fitness coaching business. And I say to them, why would anyone in the world come to you? Because what do you give that's different to everyone else on the planet, right? And I always give this analogy of like finding fitness coaching clients whilst you target nobody specifically is like going into the Red Sea trying to find a mermaid. Because why on earth would people even talk to you, bro? Like, it doesn't make sense. So by all means, I have coached people that aren't Muslim. I have. But only because they wanted to work with me because they see the results. And I will do this, no problem. If, for example, there was a Catholic, so, I'm not pretending to be, a religious scholar or anything, but, the Bible and the Quran are very, very, very similar in terms of the generic message that they give. Obviously, there are differences, but, that's a totally different conversation. The reason why I chose Muslims is I've actually experienced what these guys go through. So I'm not speaking from a position of, I just go to the gym, I can tell you how to train and eat and whatever and get you in good shape. I actually know the things that they experience. Number one, obviously, the one that stands out is Ramadan. So when somebody goes through Ramadan, obviously they're fasting for all that period of time. A lot of the brothers that I've worked with will, do the complete wrong things when it comes to Ramadan, because obviously you're fasting from, sunrise to sunset. You're going to feel hungry, you're going to feel thirsty. There are things that we can do whereby we actually keep you full for the whole day. We keep you hydrated as well to the best we can, which will obviously help in that point of view. Because I've done this for years. I've fasted for years, So for me to gather all this knowledge from my own experiences is what I basically relate to my clients. Okay. Now, I would say as well, weddings, Asian food, Middle Eastern food, all these things, they're not the typical, white British male called Steve is going to eat these every day, right? And a lot of the time in our culture, it's either the mum's cooking, the wife's cooking, the sister's cooking, etc. So there obviously is a conflict with that when someone is trying to be healthier, that they don't cook, they don't know how to cook. So this is why we teach them how to cook. But if they don't want to cook and they don't have the time, then we can also relay this to the sisters. So the mum, the sisters, the aunties, etc., to help them be healthier as well. In a nutshell, that's why I coach Muslims specifically. But as I said, it's all about businesses. Everyone is doing the same thing as somebody else, but you have to find that one thing that stands out from everybody else that's doing the same thing, which is why I came to the conclusion of Muslims.
So you work with Muslims, and again, you heavily push with faith. And I really think that having that connection between the client and the trainer, it kind of boosts their confidence in a way as well. When they believe that they can rely on someone that's gone through the same things, the same experiences, it just gives them that shoulder, that shoulder of support. But nowadays, especially in just this generation, you don't see as many, let's say kids or teenagers as you did back then that follow the religion as strongly as the older generation did. So I want to ask you, have you ever had pushback from any clients when you try to involve that faith, that faith side in someone's fitness journey?
No, I think we're genuinely no, because I think what happens with the Muslims I've communicated with anyway, right? I always give this example of me. So when I was out of shape, I wasn't very faith reliant, didn't really rely on faith too much. But when you kind of train hard, you eat good, you feel good, you are basically operating as a human should, in terms of obviously eating these organic foods, training hard, exercising, etc., the normal things we're supposed to do. But when I basically took the step to obviously losing that first initial weight and, getting in shape first and foremost, my spirituality went from like 20 to 100 straight away. And it kind of made me think in my head, well, maybe there's something aligned here. So I never, ever, ever have had a pushback from a client when I tell them, they might not like to hear it when I first say, but okay, you need to wake up at 4 a.m. to pray. We're gonna put your sleep schedule in a routine, which lets you go to sleep at say last prayer time is at 9, 10 p.m. and we're waking up at 4. We're going to be able to do this and optimize your sleep as well as, holistic kind of markers. So, our hormones and things like this, right? So I've never had a pushback, but I did have one time, or two times actually, where the brothers weren't actually so religious, Muslim, but not so heavily reliant on faith. They didn't pray 5 times a day, etc. I won't name any names. But after they've completed the program, the biggest wins for me, obviously they got the physical wins, right? They got the result they wanted to initially come in and achieve. But they started praying every single day on time, 5 times a day. And for me, that's the biggest win of all. Because if I can help someone become closer to their faith, that's bigger than anything I could ever do in terms of health and fitness, if that makes sense at all.
As you mentioned before, training while fasting. I'll explain it the way I see it. I don't think I'll ever be able to do it. No water and no food, I cannot do it. Right. So especially in these months during Ramadan, what's the toughest part of guiding clients through Ramadan? Because having a good diet is such a huge part of someone's fitness journey. It's not a small part. We've got the gym, we've got going on walks, so forth. But having a good diet is what really makes it. So how do you guide those clients through that time?
So during Ramadan, there's a lot of information on the internet of what you should and shouldn't do. And we all know the hype around ChatGPT. It's very, very good, very, very good platform to use, but I wouldn't say anywhere near for health and fitness. Like I've just tried it sometimes just to see like what it would come up with, and it's just absolutely terrible. But I would say, if we dive into training first, there's kind of 3 separate windows you can do this. And the reason there are 3 separate windows that I use anyway to guide the clients is because, one, a lot of them are very, very busy executives, business owners, etc. They have a big family, and in Ramadan, usually the whole family comes together for dinner, right? And obviously it's tough to keep up with all of this. So number one, they either train just before Fajr time in the morning, so just before sunrise, okay? Well, the prayer time anyway. And this would basically be because you can eat your meal and then you can go straight to the gym. Granted, I don't like this option because after a workout, you kind of want to eat something, right? You kind of want to eat something. But you can do it that way. Some people find it useful, some people don't. I'm one of the ones that don't like that way. The second option, which I use personally, is training about an hour before iftar time. So iftar is basically where we open fast, where we eat, pray, etc. Okay. So what I do is I go to the gym probably about an hour max, an hour max really before it's time to eat. And I will train for about 30 to 45 minutes. The thing that a lot of people get wrong in Ramadan is they train for progress. Like I want to get stronger. I want to lose all this body weight because I'm not going to be eating barely anything X, Y, Z. But that's not the main priority of Ramadan. Obviously, it's a faith holiday, kind of, if you want to call it that. And they look at it completely wrong. I go to the gym 30, 45 minutes. By all means, I pretty much cut the session in half, but I still lift heavy so I can maintain muscle. I can maintain how quickly I'm losing fat, etc., whatever it is. And I can go home and I can eat and I've got time to spend with family, you know? The third one, which I would say a lot of younger adults use, maybe even teenagers, would be after we've eaten and after we've prayed. Bearing in mind, sometimes this can be at like 10, 11 p.m. For me, this doesn't work because I own a business, I have a family. I have my own duties to do. I can't be going to the gym at 11 p.m. Like, it just doesn't really work. And then be up at 4, 5 a.m. the next day doesn't work, right? So that's how we direct them. But what we will do is we'll have a kind of strategy call with each and every client. So at the moment, I'm working with about 40 different brothers and sisters, right? So you can imagine if during that time period, I have to schedule this like 4 weeks in advance where I have to take calls every single day up to that kind of, like 28-day mark where we have a strategy already in place. We know exactly what we're doing around 4 weeks before. So when we come to it, it's not a surprise. We already know what we're doing. Just get on with it. Like, that's pretty much it. Obviously, there's other aspects that we use as well in terms of the accountability from myself and my team. But that's how we coach during Ramadan. In terms of food, that's a completely different ballgame. Because you can imagine, when you get home or when it's time to eat, it's like a massive banquet of biryani, kofta, whatever you're kind of having. Do you know, do you know what I mean? So if we obviously have this there for us, it's kind of that desire in our mind of, I've been fasting all day. Let me just eat all of it and blah, 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 blah. The one thing that straight away will happen is your insulin levels are going to increase. And already being from, whether it's South Asian, whether it's North Asian or wherever you come from, right? Or Middle Eastern, whatever, you're already predisposed to these things. If you do this every single year for years and years and years, you're bound to get diabetes. Like, you're bound to get it, right? And that's kind of what we coach our clients to do, is eat very mindfully. Because what I do, and I know this works, when I break my fast, I will have 3 dates and a glass of water. Then I will pray. If I'm hungry, I'll eat something. If I'm not, I'll have something, maybe half an hour to an hour before I go to sleep. And it won't be something crazy big. It could just be, some eggs, could be some Greek yogurt with oats, some fruit, some honey, something very, very, very simple. Because if we continue doing this, this is something a brother actually brought up to me. He said, why can't I eat this biryani even though it's got loads of, chicken or lamb, whatever biryani you're having? Wouldn't it just help like my muscle growth because I'm eating protein? And one thing that a lot of people realize is when you have all of these very, very oily carbohydrates, whether it's rice, potatoes, whatever it is, when that's paired also with oily or fried protein, so lamb, beef, chicken, whatever, it actually causes a lot of inflammation in the gut, and your body will actually absorb that protein. So that protein is pretty much doing absolutely nil for you at all. So I think in terms of Ramadan, it's very important to educate the brother or sister on why you should do certain things and why you shouldn't do other things. Obviously, I can't force them, I can advise them, but these are obviously the struggles that I go through as a coach because I have to make sure they do them. But I don't live with them, I can't be on the phone with them all the time. So they're the challenges there as well. And obviously you want to do the best you can for your client because obviously, number one, they've paid you, they probably paid you a decent amount, but also as well, you want social proof. Because if you have no social proof at all, I'll call it quits. If you can't get a result for your client in your business, like just call it quits, bro. Like you obviously care more about the short-term wins in terms of money rather than actually building something that could last a lifetime. That's another bit of gold right there, bro.
Appreciate that. Now, you also said before that you offer ways for clients to, stay hydrated and make sure they're healthy during this time of Ramadan. And that quite, intrigued me because you can't drink, you can't eat. Sure, you're not getting any vitamins in for the day. How do you work around that? So what do you actually offer while helping clients follow, their plan?
This actually comes down to 4 very, very simple factors that every single person does every day. Eat food, go to sleep, have some stress, and move around. It's pretty much all it is. All we do, this is inside or outside of Ramadan anyway, we just optimize all of that. We just optimize the things you already do because the last thing you want is some coach or someone telling you to do 1,000,001 different things that you're not doing, and then it becomes overwhelming. You might do it for 2-3 weeks and then you fall off because that's not about sustainability. The main thing is finding something for the client that works for them and not against them in terms of their lifestyle, right? So in terms of the few strategies that we use during Ramadan, just to stay on topic, so as I kind of mentioned, for suhoor time, so suhoor is basically where we eat before, we pray the first prayer in the morning. So it could be 4 or 5 a.m., depending on the time of year. What I usually get people to eat is about 300 to 400 grams of Greek yogurt with about 60 to 80 grams of organic oats with some frozen fruit and with some honey. This meal alone, I literally have massive amounts of messages from the clients during Ramadan. I can send them to you afterwards. They literally say, I have never felt so energetic, full, and not hungry throughout the whole day. They've never had it before. And I said, it's that easy. Have the same thing every day and you will feel amazing. Don't need to be, chopping and changing things all the time. Just stick to something that works and you'll be fine. Like you'll be totally cool. In terms of the hydration aspect, this is where a lot of people get it wrong. So, they will have their iftar meals at nighttime. They'll drink sodas, Fantas, Cokes, whatever it is. But all we know that is just a sugar rush, right? It's not going to hydrate anyone in the slightest. As well, I can fall victim to this sometimes, is obviously coffee and tea, right? But obviously we know coffee and tea, it has caffeine. All it doesn't hydrate us, it just makes us dehydrated. That's all it does, right? Obviously gives us a bit of energy, but we don't really need it during that time. There's things we work through with the client if they want to have some coffee and things like this, but you have to make sure that you drink enough water in a steady amount because we don't want to absolutely, shock our body into the point where it thinks it's being drowned by just downing liters and liters of water. But some really simple things that people will try to do and then they won't continue it. It's just taking some form of electrolyte. When you have some form of electrolyte, if you have this, say, 2 hours before you go to sleep, you will feel absolutely fine the next day. Absolutely fine. No doubt about it. Because obviously we need those, and even if you don't have, before I move on, even if you don't have electrolytes, put something very simple, put some pink salt in your water. And obviously this will obviously help with sodium levels in your body and won't make you as dehydrated the next day. These are some really, really simple things that work scientifically and obviously case study proven, So they're the kind of strategy we use in Ramadan anyway.
Now, you've been doing online coaching for nearly 7 years now, and based off everything you've said, it's clear you've got the experience, and it's clear you're now at the point where you know exactly what you're talking about, and that's great. But when you started off, well, actually, when a lot of people start off businesses, that's when they tend to make a few mistakes, maybe some big ones, some small ones. When you started off, what was one of your major mistakes that you overcame and came back from?
This is quite a funny one. So when I started the business, say 7 years ago or so, right? It was 2025 now. So basically, I did a PT course, right? And I did it just because my mum knew someone basically had a connection with someone who could give me a personal training qualification, for very, very cheap. And I was like, you know what, I'll do it just on the weekend. I was injured at football at the time. I was trying to be a professional footballer, didn't make it, obviously. Twisted my ankle on too many times.
Oh, it
Uh,
happens. All happens.
but I did it and I didn't really think anything of it, to be honest. I was just like, it's a decent qualification to have. I'll do it. And then I actually left it for about 2 years. Now, I gave like my family and friends advice because I knew how to do it. Like I trained my friends for free, trained family for free. Didn't really have an issue with it because you're a kid back then, right? I was doing, how old was I? Maybe 16, 17, something like that. Then it was lockdown. Then I did a little bit more. So I was like, you know what? Try and make some extra money. Not doing anything. Let's just get a few of the guys down. I've set up a gym in my garage. Obviously, you had to lock it because if you got found having people and you probably got fined or whatever, kind of not. Trained them in my gym. Was charging probably £20 an hour, something like this. And if anyone is a PT watching this, do never charge £20 an hour. It's not their time. So I was doing that, it was fine. And then obviously from there, I went to university. This is where I literally took like 3 years and barely did anything. And that is one of my biggest regrets because one of the guys, Will Kerwin, who I'm actually very good friends with now, he's one of my best friends, came to my wedding. He told me in this second year of uni, I think, he said, you have a PT qualification, start posting. Just start posting. You don't have to coach. Just post something on Instagram, TikTok. Obviously, I get majority of my clients from LinkedIn now, but LinkedIn, I didn't even think about it back then. But he told me to do it, and he said, if you just build it up now, don't worry if you don't get paid from it now, but when you turn 23, 24, 25, you'll thank yourself. Listened to him for about 2 weeks, posted maybe 3 or 4 times, then I was like, can't be bothered. It's not worth it. I just want to chill. I want to just play FIFA with my friends and all this. And obviously, fortunately, the business has worked out very well. Alhamdulillah, it's good. But I think if I started back then, I probably could have been maybe in a better situation now. Obviously, everything is all hindsight, if buts, maybes. But, that's probably a biggest regret of mine is wasting my time in university because what I've came to learn from doing a physiotherapy course in university was it literally does not matter unless you pass, which might be infuriating a few people who put uni degrees are like the be all and end of life. But they really are not. Like really do not. They matter if you get what they even call first class, second class. It really doesn't matter, right? It genuinely doesn't matter. I wish I put more of my time into starting to build even a personal brand and still passing those exams rather than just being a bum, basically playing FIFA, playing Call of Duty, and then just doing my assignment on the side when it needed to be done. I kind of wish I did that. Or even just get a part-time job where I didn't spend any of the money. I wish I worked in a restaurant and I was getting paid, by all means, not that much, but maybe like 200-300 quid a week, something like that. Which for a uni student is okay because you don't really need to buy that much, just food, etc. But I wish I didn't spend any of that money so I could put it all back into my business now, because God knows how much money I could have put back in. But I would say those are my biggest regrets, I think. I don't really believe in the idea of, like, I regret doing it because what happened happened. And I always believe things always happen for a reason. I just think I could have been a little bit smarter. But obviously, that's taught me a lot of lessons as well. And it's taught me how to be very financially smart too. So I'll never undercut myself. I'll never expend in terms of, my weekly, monthly outgoings. I'm very clever with my money, but I will always, always, always believe in investing in myself. Maybe that comes from the fact I couldn't do it at uni, potentially.
So for you, you believe, well, that uni, didn't really help that much. Do you think that's the same for everyone? Do you think uni is just a waste of time?
No, no, I do genuinely believe, like, for me, for example, I'm glad I went to university. And because me in the health and fitness industry, people see me as oh, he's not just a PT, he went to college for 6 weeks. He went to university for 3 years. He understands the human anatomy. I can know, I've worked on ICU, I worked in neuro patients, I worked with pretty much every single patient you can imagine as a physio. So I very, very much am very grateful for the time I spent at uni and what I learned, because it kind of sets me above other people in terms of, like, expertise, in terms of actually sat down qualifications. I 100% believe that university is very important, but it is not necessary to be successful. I have a lot of successful men in my family who dropped out of high school and now they have businesses that make XYZ amount. So I just think, like, education isn't for everyone, because the school education system is very, very outdated. There's things that we don't even learn about today, whether it's taxes, whether it's, how to be financially sound, all these different things we aren't taught about, but we are taught Pythagoras theorem. We're taught all these different, silly things, but realistically, we don't really need. So that's something that infuriates me a little bit about the education system. But I had this conversation with a brother of mine called Zidane as well, and he actually made a video on it, and he said most of the business owners that we know, they all went to university, they all have degrees, they all have some kind of educational background, and they're very, very clever, intellectual people. So I believe it is very beneficial, but it's not, you don't need it. You don't need to do it. Well, it kind of depends what realm of the world you're in, right? Obviously, you can't be a doctor without going to uni.
I think with uni as well, it's also a huge aspect towards a social side of things as well. So when trying to start a business, you need that confidence to speak to people, you need that confidence to meet new people. Do you think it helped you with that as well?
I think so. That's actually a really, really good point, to be honest, because I'll be honest, before a university, I was doing a scholarship for football. I was playing in the Welsh Premier League for one of the teams, and uh, I was quite loud, but I wasn't very, very loud. It got to the end of it where I didn't really want to play football anymore, because it got too, like, they were wearing all these vests and doing lactate tests. And I was like, you know what, if I'm 19, right, and I haven't made it to a pro club yet, it's probably not going to happen. And I was injured a lot of the time as well during my time. So I was like, you know what, I just want to play with my mates now. Like, just can't be bothered. Um, I think after I realized that, I went a little bit quiet. Other things happened in my time at college as well that kind of just damned on my confidence a little bit. But I would say, when I went to uni, it gave me a fresh start. Nobody knew who I was. So I was like, this is nice. I can just pretend to be whoever I want. Right? You're going to kind of have like what do you say? Like an alter
It's
ego.
a whole new personality in a way.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, 100%. And, I mixed in straight away with all these new friends. You know, bearing in mind maybe some of them weren't the best influences on me at that point, granted. And I think that is something also I would learn, is just to make sure I mix with the right people. Because if you mix with the wrong people, yes, you might enjoy the new company because they're new people, you're learning about them, but you need to be careful with, what the personality types you're mixing with. Because if you're just mixing with anyone and everyone who just wants to go out and have fun, realistically, if you draw back those very, these vanity metrics, if you want to say, you probably don't get on with them. You probably don't have the same aspirations. You probably don't look at the world the same. And a lot of time they were just wasting time with people who I just didn't really get on with on a human level, right? Um, but I think if you make the right connections and you build a nice friendship group, I think it can be very, very useful. And I think when obviously you go to university, you have to interact with new people. Otherwise, you just won't really, well, I suppose you can succeed, but obviously it will help in business if you talk to new people. I think it probably helped the way I speak with people now, because I speak with, on a daily basis, executives, multiple business owners. I can't speak to these people the way I would speak in uni. I can't be like, yo, bro, what's happening? You think, bro, yeah? But that's how I was speaking in uni. But now you have to have that, intellectual intelligence in terms of how you communicate with people as well. That's not just in terms of the language. It can be tonality, can be body language. It can just be the way you present yourself. So if I was, I jumped on this podcast and I was like, hey, bro, okay? Yeah, yes. You're probably not going to have that much respect for me. But if you actually open up a little bit, I think that's one of the main things I worked on probably in the last year of uni, because I went very, very quiet and I was just focusing on myself because I knew eventually I wanted to start this business and not start it, but make it kick off. And I worked a lot on communication. I worked a lot on self-confidence because I was very overweight as well. So I was hitting the gym, smashing the gym, watching all these motivational speakers, making notes, how to speak to people, reading books. I was doing everything. And I'll be honest, this is maybe a controversial point, but um, Andrew Tate, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, or maybe the way he says it, but his content and the way he viewed life, the way he spoke, definitely helped me. But I also think if it comes onto a more impressionable mind, his content can be a little bit dangerous, maybe not the word, but they can get the wrong idea about things. But I would say he definitely helped me in some aspects. I don't even really know what he does anymore, to be honest. I don't know if he's still
I don't
relevant.
think, yeah, I don't either.
There was like a phase where every young boy
Everyone was talking about it.
yeah, absolutely, bro. But I would say, if you want to, make that step, if you are at uni, or even not at uni, if you're working a job that you don't like, make the time to make it work. Like, this can be for anything. Like, if you want to get promotion, if you want to start a business, you always have time. I do not believe in I don't have enough time to do this. I really, really hate it when people say it. It actually really infuriates me because I'm like, So you have time to scroll on TikTok for 2 hours, but you don't have time to cook a meal and go to the gym. Okay. But it doesn't have to be about the gym. It could be starting a business. There's no way on earth, if you want it that bad enough, you will not do it. There is no way. I genuinely don't believe it. I just think people have limiting beliefs in what they can actually do. And I know Tony Robbins said this, and I actually watched his documentary on Netflix a couple of weeks back. And he said, a lot of people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I believe that is applicable to every aspect in life: fitness, business, relationships, family, whatever it is. Genuinely think that it's just a beautiful way of looking at things, because a lot of people, I've done it myself, where you can compare yourself to XYZ people, and you kind of feel rubbish about yourself. I was like in business. I've actually come to learn that you're probably very, very much further ahead than you think you are, which I didn't even maybe 6 months ago. But yeah, I would say I'm sorry I rambled on a little bit
No,
there.
it's all right. No, no, no.
It's giving all these quotes and everything, bro. But that's just what was splitting out my brain, bro.
No, you went in. But I think one thing that you just said, that quite stood out to me, and I think it's something that a lot of people relate to nowadays, is surrounding themselves in the right group. Especially in uni or when you're starting a new chapter in your life, you kind of, you kind of think about trying to fit in instead of, trying to find what's right for you. And it's relatable for a lot of people, and that kind of clouds their judgment in some ways, and it holds them back. Luckily, you were able, to get yourself out there, to out of the bad surroundings. But how did you do it? And I'm sure a lot of people at home would love to know, and that might be in the same position of how did you cut off those people that you needed to cut off to succeed?
I'll be honest, there was a lot of conflict. Granted, I'm trying to think back to the first time where I actually started to kind of go a little bit quiet. I think the first time, so I did it twice. The first time was I was in a massive group. In first year uni, I was in a massive group of friends. Like the immediate friends was probably 10 to 15 people. And then there was kind of like a second and third circle, which maybe was 40, 50, 60 people in total, right? We all kind of knew each other. It came to a point where I wasn't happy with the way I looked in terms of just physically. Like I just felt like fat. I just don't like the way I look. It's making me feel really sad and angry and really annoyed. So I actually left my uni accommodation for about 2 to 3 months. Didn't really say anything because one of the things that pushed me out as well is I lived with dirty people. Like not dirty that way, very lovely people, but they were just, I'm a very clean person. And if there's rubbish, I can't deal with it. They would leave bins, they would leave food out, plates, moldy cups, and then I just couldn't deal with it anymore. There was like bin flies on the TV, like in a massive pile. And I was like, I can't hack this anymore. I left. Said to my mum, I'm packing my stuff, come pick me up and come to live at home for 2 or 3 months. Went home, started smashing the gym, started just literally focusing on myself. I came back, nobody recognized me. I had long hair and I shaved all my hair off as like a new start. It was like, just being reborn pretty much. But no one recognized me. And the old habits I used to do, people would always ask me, oh, you coming out? Are you coming to do this? You want to go get a burger? You want to go do this? I was like, I'm okay. I'm just going to go into my room, study, go to the gym, whatever. And that was how it was. And people started to resent me for it because they probably subconsciously, I'm improving myself and people are jealous of when you focus on yourself, people will see you as selfish, as delusional, all these different compounding factors that they have yet to become. And they're jealous that you're doing it right now. So I think that was the start of me actually, making tough decisions because I could have easily just strayed down that path and kept going for years and years and years. I've been there now. God knows what I've been doing right now. The second time I did it was a little bit more difficult because I was living in second year uni. I was living with two of my best friends who I'd gone to college with for 2 years. I played football with them for 3 or 4 years. And, we were like best friends, really, really close friends. And it came to a point where this is kind of emotional, bro. I miss these guys, man. Like we were like peas in a pod. Like we do everything together, play football together, go for food together, do everything together. And it came to a point where, a lot of things were going wrong in my life and I felt a little bit helpless. And we actually went on holiday together. We went to Greece, all of us together, and we had a good time, but towards the end of the holiday, I was like, I don't really know why I'm friends with these. As tough as that is, like, these guys aren't going to take me to the road I want to be on. And I made a very tough decision, and I said there was no real goodbye. I just phased myself out. I just declined plans, really speak to them. Maybe if I was to go back, I would explain why. But the relationship that we all had was all jokes. So it was like, they probably just take it as a joke. I'll be like, look, bro, I'm being serious, man. Like, I don't think we can hang out anymore. And I'll be honest, but it was like quite upsetting. And I was on my own. Like, when I left that group, I was on my own. Didn't have anybody, literally no one. And it's tough, man. Like, it's not easy. But obviously that decision alone has taken me very far, and I know it was for the good of not just my career, but also my soul as well. Because now I feel so much clearer. I don't get feelings of sadness. I don't feel anxious. I don't get any of these things that I was when I was in these groups, which is obviously a good thing, you know? But, if I was to just give some advice to someone who is going maybe through the same thing, is it's never going to be easy. Sometimes, especially as a man, granted, females will do it as well, but I can't speak on how females think and feel, because I'm not one. But in terms of a guy, I think the most growth you will ever see if you spend a full year or a decent time frame completely on your own, and you don't think about anyone else but yourself. You don't think about anything else apart from starting a business, making money, getting in shape, and all these things. And I always believe you will be successful if you are in good shape. It's just a non-negotiable for me. Like, if I see, a business owner and they're in good shape, like, it's just a presumption where I know that they're successful because they respect themselves that extra little bit much. That's just from my experience with, well, obviously I can't speak for every culture or race or whatever, but from Muslims, that's what I know. Obviously that can be, a bit of prejudice, but that's just what I have seen in all my years of doing this. And I speak with executive business owners every single day. And granted, there are people that want to get in shape and want to be the best version of themselves. And I congratulate them, but I cheer them on. Even if they don't work with me, I'm not here to make money. That wasn't the aim of the business. I'm very grateful I do this full time. But if I see someone and I can even just be the catalyst to make them start to change their lives a little bit, I've done my job. That's all I'm here to do. I'm not an influencer, not a money grabber. Just want to help people grow. That's all I'm here to do, man.
Following up from what you said about, spending that time alone, it's never the easiest thing to do. And you know that better than anyone. It's never the easiest thing to do. And sometimes you have to make those decisions, which at the time, it'll be heartbreaking. But deep down, if you know that it'll be for the best, then go for it. And I think, well, I'm going to say, I respect you a lot for doing so, because look where you ended up now.
Yeah,
You're
of
doing
course,
great.
man. Alhamdulillah.
Obviously,
That's true.
there's more to go. There's always more to do, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's something that the people listening at home can also take on board, which will really help them in the long run, 100%.
I think so, bro. I think it's one of those things where you kind of, I feel like as a man, you have to do these things. Like, I know there's obviously at the moment, there's a lot of, I don't even know what you'd call it, maybe conflict with, the old frame of what masculinity looks like, and people can mistake it for toxic masculinity, which doesn't exist, by the way, in the way people think it does. I am very traditional, old-fashioned. I always believe a man should be in the shape of his life at least once. I always believe the man should be strong. He should provide. I don't believe in any of this, the women should work or things like this. But granted, like my wife, she doesn't work, but she has the choice to do so if she wants to. But it's my responsibility to look after her. And I think, And one thing I always say to people on calls as well is, if they're coming to join the program, I say, if the worst case scenario for you would be not even worst case, say if there was a scenario right now whereby someone broke into your house and was trying to attack your children and wife, would you be in the physical shape to defend them? Do you even know how to fight? Are you strong? Are you going to get out of breath walking up the stairs? All these things, people don't think about them, but these are just things that have to be done as a man. It's like a non-negotiable. I think if you think any differently from this, and you have this kind of like warrior mindset, which you probably see from all like the UFC fighters like Khabib and all these guys, we all kind of think very similarly. But that's just how I like to look at things. And I think my clients like that I'm so straight to the point. I don't give any fluff. But I think that growth, to have that mindset, coming back to what you said, came from being alone. Like you're in the trenches on your own. There's no one there. If you're fighting against an army of the world and you're on your own, you've got one pistol or one grenade or whatever it is, you're on your own in there, bro. And you have to survive.
Let's step back now a little bit, and let's we'll start talking about the entrepreneurship side now.
Oh yeah, go
You know,
about
that was quite heavy. That was quite heavy. I loved it. I loved it. No. So once again, when starting a business, as we said before, you go through struggles. One of them is that you make major mistakes, but you come back from them. But you also start to face some financial struggles as well. Maybe even some struggles with gaining clients, just stuff like that. So have you ever gone through any financial struggles bringing up this business, or even struggles trying to gain some clients?
I'll touch on the finances first, and then I'll go through clients because I think they're interrelated as well. In terms of finances, I never ever started tracking my money at all until I started struggling. Now, I was alhamdulillah, I was in a good place. I come from a very nice background, beautiful, lovely parents, lovely sisters, lovely family around me. But when starting a business, I didn't want any handouts or anything, so I didn't actually tell anyone about it. Until I obviously turned down my physio job offer, which I kind of want to break to my mum. I remind this of her every time. I say this to her as a joke, obviously. But I took her on a holiday. Me, my mum, my wife. I took them on holiday to Spain maybe about 2 months ago. Said to her, "Oh, if I took that physio job offer and I didn't do this, you probably wouldn't be here right now." But obviously that's just on a sidetrack. But I think one very important thing, and I know a lot of, the people that, come in to watch your videos, if they're young entrepreneurs, I really love what you're doing in terms of, you can only really listen to the big dogs or Moses, Chris Williams. I don't know what his name is. I can't remember his name, but I love his content anyway. He's called Chris something. There's a lot of really, really big guys that give a lot of value, and they're really, really cool people. But one thing is they don't have a lot of people who've done it recently, like me, for example, and I think tracking finances is so important, and I go down to minute details. So I think, tracking how much money you have coming in guaranteed every month, putting away some form of savings, or like, I call it like emergency funds or whatever you want to call it. How much food you're going to spend on shopping, how much food you're going to spend on gym, health, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then I also have some playtime money as well. So if I just want to go for a coffee or whatever, I always have that in there. That has been an absolute game changer because I go through my finances every single month and I actually do a review and I see why on earth have I spent this amount of money this month, break it down, it makes sense. And I will always, always, always be cautious, but never overly cautious, because overly cautious people, from my experience, do not get where they want to be. If you are constantly scared and afraid of spending money, you're never going to become that person that you want to become. So you'll probably notice I love analogies a lot. And I always give this one. So, in Marvel movies, There's like infinite realities, multiverse kind of thing. So there's a version of, let's just call person A and person B. So person A wants to start a business, they want to do X, Y, Z, whatever. But they don't want to invest their money, they're scared, they aren't doing the things they need to on a day basis. Person B is in this multiverse, the Marvel universe, chilling with all the Avengers or whatever. And he's scared to do it still. There's always going to be that fear instilled into both of these people. Well, he's invested into his business, he's invested his time, his energy, blood, sweat, tears, and he's made it happen. And I was person A for a long time. And as soon as I changed to person B, things changed completely. The trajectory of life completely changed. I think that's something that one lesson from finances is be cautious, but never be scared to invest. For example, with myself, I don't like to spread numbers, but I spent a lot of money investing into mentors, advertisements, all these different things. Like if there is a fitness coach who says they're going to run ads, I would definitely not do it straight away. I don't want to get you to spend ads and waste your money. Put money into ads, all these different things. I think that's something that's a really important lesson. I think as well, you need to always track the number at the start of the month and the number at the end of the month. And if you track it, I actually have a whiteboard with it on, where you'll see gradually it will go up and up and up and up and up. Slowly, it might just be £10, it might be £2, but at least it's going up. It's not going down, and that's what we want to see. It's for example, there's a study on weight loss. Not sure who conducted the research, but there was two groups. One group tracked their weight once a week. The second group tracked it multiple times a week, 3 to 5 times a week. Guess which group lost more weight? The one who tracked it more, because it's constantly in your head and you always know what's going to happen. That's another reason why we have the Whoop and we track their weight every day, because you're constantly seeing it. It's a constant mental reminder what you're actually doing. Now, you can apply this to business as well. I was in terms of an experience for me, in terms of financially, I was literally on my arse, I was very comfortable, bearing in mind, maybe like 24 months ago, I was okay. I was doing okay. 12 months later, so 12 months ago from around today, I was on my arse. I barely had any money. Didn't even really want to go and buy a coffee because I was like, didn't really have that much to spend. But obviously, yeah. And I think it hurt me to the point where, as men, we have egos. And I was thinking to myself, bear in mind, I didn't even meet my wife by this point. I was like, if I'm going to get married in the next, 1-2 years, there's no way I can survive on this side. Something needs to change, because with a wife, like, alhamdulillah, I'm very, very blessed. She is very supportive of the business, and, she understands when certain funds can't be used to go on a holiday. It can't be used to go on a spa weekend every single weekend. She understands some of the funds have to go back into the business, and she is the most, down to earth, beautiful soul I've ever met in my life. She's very supportive. Genuinely could not ask for a better wife. Genuinely, I'm very, very, very lucky. But I think, to me, what changed was that mindset of, I can't provide for myself. How am I going to provide for someone else? And as a guy, you always have to constantly think of this. And for me, I go back to being old fashioned. I don't really, expect my wife to work or pay for anything. If she has money, it's hers, it's not mine. And my money is not just mine, it's hers. So you have to kind of think in terms of that aspect. So I was charging very, very cheap money. I'd get paid, but then these clients would be with me for like 12 months. And I was like, I need them to pay me some more. So you create some strategies to make them, pay you a bit more money, which obviously, I'm happy to dive into it and tell you. But I think the main thing is, for any business, it's good to get quick wins in. Cash flow is very important in a business. But I think it's very important to have respect for yourself and respect for your your service or product or whatever you're doing. Because if you charge too cheap, bite you in the arse, which it did to me. I was looking to get out of it a few times. I haven't been able to get out of it. And I just had to continue doing it. But obviously, set a good price. I would say it's very, very important, because it's not every client is not going to say yes. Every prospect on a call is not going to say yes. And it's actually okay. It's something I've just learned from my own business mentor, is I was converting about 70% of the people that were coming in and booking in a call with me. He said, it's too high.
How does that?
He said, you're charging too cheap. He said, maximum it should be is about 60%. And if you're closing about 70%, you're charging way too cheap. So now I've increased the price, and it might have dropped to 50, 60%, which I'm happy with, because in the long run, I'm making more money, but I'm not having as many clients, which works quite nicely because you get paid more, but then you don't have to work with as many people. Absolutely, bro. And obviously, I want to work with as many people as possible. There's some things I have in the pipeline as well. Obviously, hiring a success coach, another fitness coach. So if anyone wants to get in touch, if there's a fitness coach on here who wants to be part of my business, feel free. But, I think the strategies I used to basically undermine this, and I would say don't charge cheap, just don't do it unless you literally have to get by, is do them a cheap program. Do it for only, 6 months. And then when it comes to month 4 or month 5, upsell them into something else to get that extra step of money, but just coach the hell out of them. Make sure they get the results, because there's nothing anyone hates more than just a coach who promises, the life, and they're left with, the suburbs, I would say that, bro. In terms of, you mentioned clients as well.
So I want to elaborate on that question, because obviously, you've advertised that you've worked with 300 plus people, but I want to talk about the 400 rejections that you've had.
Yeah. Oh, you got that from the
Got
LinkedIn
that from
post. I see you,
don't
bro.
call me out. You can't be calling me out.
That's
No.
class.
Uh,
Respect, man. Respect.
But what is the hardest thing about facing rejection? Are you not scared?
I don't care anymore, bro. Genuinely, it's when I have a call with someone and they tell me no, it's not my issue. I know obviously, if you're starting up, it's hard, because you're on the call and the one thing that you're thinking of is money, 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 money. You're not thinking about this person. I would say the biggest thing that changed for me when I actually started closing these deals and actually, making some, decent money, is I actually stopped thinking about the money. I didn't, when I went onto the call, I would literally, and my wife is a big part of this as well. She literally tells me before the call, you're doing this to save this person's life. You're not doing it for any money. God has blessed you enough. You're doing it to help them. Which kind of relates back to what I said maybe half an hour, 45 minutes ago. But I always go in with the mindset of, this person has a cancer and I have the solution and the cure to that cancer. Because when you bring it down to a human level, yes, it is a transactional process, but I don't sell my service. I talk to them. If I can help them, I'll help them. They pay, that's another question. Because obviously, you have to have good sales skills and know how to sell something, otherwise you're going to get nowhere. But I think having that human aspect and having, that empathy towards someone goes a lot larger and a lot further down the line than, making 2, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds in, a week or two, or however much. It doesn't really make a difference. And there was literally an experience yesterday. I had, not on a call, it was a personal matter. And the day before, I'd just closed, a very good deal for myself that put me in a nice, alhamdulillah, a very nice financial situation. And something happened in my personal life and I didn't care about the money. It's not to sound, how do you say, not arrogance, not the right word, not grateful for the trust that was put into me by this person. But I think for a lot of young business owners is they need to become emotionally intelligent, because that's something I struggled with. Like, I'll be honest, like when I started this business, I didn't care about anything else but making money. And obviously not making money, but making this business last and make it my own empire. But when this happened to me yesterday, that money was just like, it's just money. Like, it's not going to change. It's at the end of the day, when this life is over, it's not going to matter. There's other important things as well at hand, I think. But I think in terms of the rejection side of things, like, it's okay to get a no. Like, you're one no closer to getting a million yeses. And when you get no's, it's always important as well. Like, I don't know if it popped up on here, but I always record my calls, and, every few months I will go back and I'll watch the calls that didn't make me any money, and I will review and I will observe. So if it's no, it's a chance for learning. If they say yes, good job. Move on to the next one. Help some more people. But I think rejection is a good thing. It sounds weird, it sounds strange, but getting rejected is a good thing, because if you are continuously getting yes, 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 you'll never understand and learn how to deal with rejection. And it kind of builds that callus around you as a man or as a woman, to be able to go through anything and not face that internal conflict and resistance from yourself. And I'm very hard on myself. My wife tells me this all the time. But I still have that callus where nothing really can make me angry or upset. And I mean, I say that I literally tore my shirt before, and I got a little bit annoyed. I ripped the sleeve off by accident. That did annoy me a little bit, but it's obviously it's one of those things. But in terms of business wise, there's not much that can really impact me. When I was getting these no's, say 12 months ago, when I was desperate for money, affected me a lot. I would be down. I wouldn't speak to anyone. I'd be like, why couldn't he just say yes? Like, what's the problem? Like, I would literally say, what is this guy's problem? I would be like in doing a call, and I'd have my hands in my head, and I'd be, what the heck is this guy's problem? He has this issue. I have the solution. What is going on? But then when you get experience and you learn, you're like, okay, you know what? There's even some times where now I don't even pitch anyone, because I already know they're going to say no. So I'm like, that's enough of the conversation. Have a nice day. So I think the biggest thing that people can do in business is actually saying no to people rather than just saying yes. So I've had a countless amounts of times where I've had clients that there's a very, very small group, maybe two out of, 2 or 3 out of the 300 odd that I've coached. They've just been an absolute pain in the backside, where everything you do, they're not happy with it. Bearing in mind, these guys, we had blood tests given to them. We got a nurse sent to their house. The nurse took their bloods. We relayed the information with our team. We gave them prescriptions. We gave them a workout plan, a diet plan that they could follow if their wife was cooking. We do all these things, but some people are never pleased. And that's another thing you're going to have to face in business. Some people are never going to be happy. Like, genuinely. Whatever your service is, you could be making people millions, they're still not going to be happy. That's another thing as well. I think that's covered what you said, I think.
I think with rejection, as you said, it kind of gave you that time to sit down and go through those calls, see what you did wrong. Trial and error is a huge thing when it comes to business. You might try something, it might fail many times, but I think you might agree that it depends on how you come back from it and how you reflect on what you could be doing better. I think that's what means more.
100%. I always say this as well, because, even after that long 7-year journey that I've done, I still invest into my business. There's so many business owners that is just so reluctant to get help. I understand, because I've been burned by a few mentors before. When I say burned, I basically mean I've paid, a decent amount of money for something, and it's been like the worst thing ever. I'm not going to name any names, but this guy I have a deep um, conflict with, because he promised me my money back, and I asked for it back, and he started doing it. But anyway, living we learn some. But I would say do research. If you know someone is good at something and can generate you results, go for it. Do it. Just pay the money, because even if you don't make massive amounts of return, you're basically fast tracking your way to success. That's pretty much what you're doing. Now, for me, I've done like 3 or 4 of these mentorships, and the one I'm on now is probably the best one I've ever done. And if you take that in consideration, so it'll be 4 times the amount of money I've spent, a lot, to get someone that actually understands me and how I want to market, how I want to work, and all these things. And just don't be scared to invest. Like, this money is like, if you want more money, you have to pay. Like, you have to learn. Like, you're basically exchanging currency for knowledge, which is okay. It's totally okay. I think that's what holds a lot of people back, just because they're scared a lot. But it's scary regardless. It's scary to start a business and make millions of pounds. It's also scary to stay stuck where you are and be average and just be a number for the rest of your life. All you're going to be is a number, not a name, which is one of the things that made me start this, because I want to be known. I want my name to go down in generations. I want, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren be like, oh, granddad's Aran, he did this, this, and this. This is why we do this. This is why we have all these things. Or you could just be like, oh, I don't even know who my great-granddad was. Who was that? What was his name? What did he look like? It's just how I think and process things, to be honest. But yeah.
You take bigger risks and you'll gain bigger rewards. That's what I think so. And that's what I follow. See, one thing that I've just realized now is that we've talked about a lot so far. We've talked about struggles and we've talked about other things as well. But one thing that I haven't talked about yet is the gym. And I kind of want to test your knowledge about the gym.
Okay,
Let's
bro.
see if Aran Işik lives up to the name.
This would be fun. Let's go.
Right. So a big misconception about the gym is that lifting heavier weight means that you're training a lot better than other people.
Absolutely false, bro. Absolutely false. There's a reason why, you'll see, granted, some of these guys like bodybuilders, they will be on gear, steroids, whatever you call it, yeah? But there's a reason why they lift lighter weights than you and look better than you. Because if you're lifting, say, for example, if you're bench or dumbbell pressing, say 60 kilograms on each arm, but your reps are just, you're not going all the way down to your chest. You're letting the weight fall to your chest and you're just pushing it up. You're not going to generate those, muscle fiber tears in order to grow that muscle. And you're not actually activating any mechanical tension in the muscle. All you're doing is pushing weights. You may as well go to a construction site and just lift weights around, or just lump a load of wood everywhere. It's pretty much the same thing. That's why you can see a lot of construction guys are decent in shape, but obviously they don't have the definition of whatever they want. So I would say definitely false. Light weights, very controlled form. That's the way to go. Because number one, I don't train my clients in person. It's all online. But when I do train, they're on their workout programs. It's a video of me literally showing them and telling them, do it like this. Don't care if the weight doesn't go up. It doesn't have to go up all the time. You can do other things to, progress the exercises. You can do supersets. You can draw out the eccentric portion of the movement. You can, do drop sets. You can do whatever. There's loads of different things you can do. Reduce rest time. You don't have to, have an ego battle with the guy in the corner who's nearly lifting the same weights as you. You don't have to do it. I've been guilty of it before. Happens sometimes. You just be like, this guy's nearly lifting as much, and just lift a bit more. But obviously, if you want results, like that's the way to train, bro. Never go for heavy weights if you want to. Granted, you want to have, some of your so for example, compound movements, whether that's a squat, a deadlift, RDL, bench press, dumbbell press, whatever it is. You want to be lifting heavy, but you want to lift it heavy to the point where you can control the weights and do maybe between 5 and 8 reps on these exercises, and then the other exercises anywhere between 8 and 12, you know. But I can talk for years about this, but I don't wanna scramble on. I'll talk you through my whole program if you want, bro.
No, that's funny because you mentioned ego playing a part in the gym. And as bad as it sounds, it kind of does play a huge part in the gym because you've already been through this. But let's say, you see someone lifting 30 kg in the gym with a male ego, right? Instinctively, you want to follow or you want to do better.
Absolutely, bro.
Now, the question that I want to ask is this a healthy mindset to see it, as okay, this could be good competition, a healthy competition, or is it a bad mindset that can lead, to you doing a bit too much, maybe gaining injuries? Can it be a bit dangerous?
I think 100% it can be dangerous. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing because it obviously shows that competitive edge. So by all means, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing either, to be honest. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, for example, my mindset is when I train, like we're all males, right? So we all have some degree of ego. It's weird if you don't have one. But obviously it's important to obviously know how to manage this ego and things. You can't be arrogant and things like this. It's important to be very humble in the way you conduct yourself. But the way I look at things is, I'm lifting heavy weights, but I'm controlling it. If you want to have an ego battle with someone, change the perception from heavier weights to who can control the weight for the longest on the way down. It's another way of looking at things. It's the same principle. Yeah, they might be lifting heavier weights. What are they doing? Half reps? Are they not even, doing the exercise correctly? Are their elbows flared or whatever it could be? You could just say who's doing the exercise better and who's actually, if we took it at value of us both doing the exercise perfectly with the perfect form, and I'm doing this weight and he's doing that weight, but he's only doing 2 kg heavier, I'm probably stronger. So if you change the perception a little bit, that works for me. I'll be real. I do it all the time in the gym. It's ego, bro. It happens. There's no other way to describe it. It happens, but if you change that perception, onto a winner, bro. 100%. No injury, more kind of gains. You look better. You feel better. Better pump. It's just the way we want to go, bro.
100%. Now, let's talk about the opposite of having a big ego. Let's go across the fear of judgment in the gym. Many people are scared to kind of go into that gym environment because, there's different factors. There's the fact that they don't know what equipment to use. There's so many people that are so far ahead in their fitness journey that it kind of makes you feel bad as well for even being there in a way. And, it just doesn't make them feel comfortable. For those people, what advice would you give them? Like, how can you feel more confident in the gym and not worry about what's surrounding you?
I think, to be honest, I know this is going to sound so cliche, but no one is looking at you. Nobody really cares. Like, genuinely, like, people are probably more worried about what other people are thinking of them rather than looking at you and, like, judging you. I've never been to a gym where there's been any form of judgment or anything. Like, genuinely, I've never experienced it. Even when I was younger, I had, like, gym anxiety, but it never kind of stopped me from going. And something I've learned from coaching is this can affect people. I think it probably impacts females more so than males because they might not feel safe in the gym, which is understandable. When I was a one-to-one PT, I actually had to throw out a few guys for being weird with girls. So I understand it, yeah. But I think advice, like, you have to just, like, everything is going to be difficult. Like, for you to stay fat or skinny or whatever is just as scary as going into the gym. So you're probably better going to the gym or even working out from home rather than just doing nothing about it. Because, as I mentioned previously, 10, 15 minutes ago, that Marvel Universe analogy, there's a person who feels exactly the same, but he gets it done anyway. How does he think differently? What habits does he have that are different from you? And I always pull it back to these analogies because they help me understand myself better, but also the people I work with too. So that's the kind of advice I would give. It's hard either way.
See, one of the big reasons to why people kind of have this fear of judgment, and as I mentioned before, is because they don't really know what to do. If you, let's say, for example, you scroll online, right, and you're trying to look up a good workout plan or even a meal prep plan, there's many different people saying many different things, right? Some say calisthenics are the best way. Some say cardio is the best way. Some say weights are the best way to go. There's so much kind of miseducation on social media about how to move forward in your fitness journey. Which one is the best in your opinion?
The best one is the one that you can stick to and train hard. That's it. Doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter, bro. Genuinely, from my years of doing this, there's no best exercise. There's no best routine split. There's none of this. You'll see a lot of it on TikTok because TikTok is for dopamine fiends who can't, watch a video past 20 seconds, 10 seconds maybe, and the best advice is find a routine that you can stick to 2, 3, 4, 5, however many days a week. Train hard, continue to do it. Just keep doing it. That's literally the best way of doing it. Because, you get all of these people that come to me on a daily basis and they always ask me, I did, intermittent fasting. I did, water fast, juice fasts. I tried this split. I tried that split, but it didn't work. And it genuinely comes down to the misinformation online, which is actually really unfortunate and upsetting, to be honest, because health is something that we see as Muslims as a trust from God. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people put information out there that factually might be correct, but also could be taken a completely different way. And it leads people to feeling confused. Once they feel confused, they're just going to stop doing it because they're not seeing any results. And when people, the one thing that frustrates me the most is when people look up plans for nutrition. How on earth is someone who's, say for example, right, we've got someone who's looking up the plan and they're 6'5", 200 pounds, and they go to the gym, they walk maybe 5,000 steps a day. They're copying a meal plan of someone who's 5'4", walks 20,000 steps a day and does all these other activities. There's no way it works for you. There's literally no way on earth it's going to get you where you need to be. And this is why coaches like myself have a job, because people who are smart, they understand the value of having a coach. I'm a PT. I've been doing it for 7 years. I have a PT. There's nothing wrong with having a PT. It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. If you want to say that to me, you can ask, how did I coach 300 odd people? But I have a fitness coach. Why do you need one? Because I'm a business owner. I don't really want to, if you can imagine, I work with about 40 fitness clients. I've got to do all their diet plans, all their training programs, all their supplement plans, sleeping patterns, all these things. The last thing I want to do, bro, is do my own one. I'm too tired. And, I say this to everyone who, comes on board with me. They're Tiger Woods and I'm just their caddy driver. But that's why I have my own coach. So I'm my own Tiger Woods and he's my caddy driver, There's another analogy.
That's a great, I like that one. That was good.
But genuinely, that's how I feel, bro.
Someone's managed to find the perfect diet plan, right? And, it benefits them in every way possible. Now, in my culture, and I'm sure in your culture too, we love flavor. We love flavor. We're so used to a lot of cultural foods, that's heavy in ghee, in oil, in seasoning. You know how it goes, right?
Absolutely, bro.
How does someone like me, someone with such flavorful taste buds, how do I incorporate all of that yet still maintain a good diet? Because everything that I see, I mean, you said before, it doesn't have to be bland chicken, it doesn't have to be broccoli, but most things that I've seen, it is that. It looks bland and it looks quite dry. So how can I carry on my culture and my, my love of flavor but still maintain a good diet?
So I would say, bro, to be completely honest, like we don't stop our clients from eating their cultural foods. It's actually one of the main drawing points that the reason why they come and work with us. So, wherever you come from, Middle East, Asia, wherever, you're going to have these staple meals, whether it's, kapsa, whether it's kofta, whether it's kebab, whether it's biryani, whatever it is. Obviously, all these foods are going to incorporate some form of oil, butter, ghee, all these very dense calorific foods, calorie dense foods, oil sources, etc. We actually keep you eating the same meals. We just change the ingredients. And of over 7 years of constructing all of these diet plans and recipes, I've done it myself. I've tried the meals because I'm a big foodie. Like I told you, I was a big fatty, bro. So I love food. I'm a big foodie, and there's ways to make the meals taste exactly the same, but you just use less of the ingredients that aren't as good for you. The one big misconception is that, butter, ghee, oil is bad for you. It's actually good for you if you have it in the right amounts, because it's all healthy fats, and healthy fats are going to be the main thing that we use anyway to maintain our holistic health markers. Okay. Helping with sleep, helping with our testosterone, all these other things that we need, on a daily basis as men to succeed and have the highest levels of energy. All these different factors can come into it. But yeah, it's just creating recipes that work to your taste buds, and it genuinely doesn't really change that much. To be honest, like I did create a few of the recipes, but like I said, my wife is very good at this as well. She's good mixing and matching things, trying to make things healthy, whether it's sauce, whether it's dips, whether it's, how to make chicken, whether biryani, whatever it is. She's very good at helping me with it. And we just construct the recipe, make it. If it tastes good, bang, goes into the recipe book. And obviously we can give this to the clients with all the instructions, video tutorials, etc. That's the best way to do it, bro, because as I said at the start, we find a way that's convenient and suitable that works for your lifestyle, not against it. Because if it works against it, you're not going to stick to it. It doesn't work. There's other factors you can use as well. Calorie banking, for example, if you want to, on a Saturday or a Friday, you want to have a meal out with family, that's cool. Just on the days previously, just remove a few ingredients. So it's literally that simple. So if you're having, 200 grams of rice every single day, just halve it. Just have 100, and then on the Friday or whenever you have a meal, whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Won't make a difference. Obviously, to an extent.
Now, based off the experience, about all this food stuff that you've now got a halal cookbook, which, as you said, you can offer it to clients to, kind of substitute that unhealthy lifestyle for in a better way, right?
Absolutely.
How did you develop these recipes? And I'm gonna put some emphasis on how, because I found out that when you were in uni, you tried to bulk, but instead of instead of following a plan, you mentioned this by the way. Instead of following a plan, you threw loads of random stuff together in a blender. You threw some eggs, and you put a lot of olive oil in it as well. A lot of olive, and that's not very culinary of you.
You're very you're like a detective, bro.
Like
Maybe
your
you should be
roots.
working. Oh man, that's a good job, bro. Yeah, that's true. Where did you find? Was it on LinkedIn or was it on?
Unfortunately, I can't reveal my sources. But I want to know, how did you go from that to now making a cookbook, and you've now developed those recipes?
So I'll be honest, bro. Like I did have a few good friends in uni that I would go to the gym with, and like I follow. Bear in mind, these guys were like white British Caucasian, right? So I don't know if it's something to do with my. I never blame the genetics that you could. I don't think you can reach your genetic potential unless you're literally perfect. By the way, but I think for me, as I was a fat kid, like my metabolism just genuinely wasn't as good as theirs. So we would literally, after we come home from the gym, we'd have a protein shake. We'd put eggs in there like Rocky, olive oil just to get the calories up and all these stuff, right? So I tried these things, but it didn't work. And I was like, I kind of took a step back and I was just thinking, you know, why am I doing what these guys are doing if it doesn't work for me? It works for them. They're in very good shape. But why am I doing what they're doing if it doesn't work for me? So this is when I started to experiment a little bit with my own foods. And I was like, right, so this meal has, whether it's kofta, whether it's, biryani, whatever, I'd make the recipes, but I would just change the ingredients slightly. Bearing in mind, they've all been adapted over the years. They've all been improved over the years. So maybe I was using some those spray oils. I was using them. They're not very good anyway. But I was using those. I was using maybe the Weight Watchers wraps that were like 50 calories, all these things. But obviously in the long term, it doesn't really work. So what I basically did was all the meals that my dad made at home. So my dad's a very good cook. I would basically take his meals. I'd ask him for all the ingredients. I'd watch him cook it. And I would just see like how much oil is he putting in? Is he putting oil on the salad? What's he kind of doing to make it a healthier way? Then I would change the ingredients, change the recipe, do it myself, and it tasted the exact same. So this is basically where the plan came from, pretty much.
Now, one other thing that I also saw, and I'm not gonna lie, when I saw it, I thought you must have lost your mind, right? You eat with a baby spoon. Now, now, this is not a normal thing that that you come across on a day-to-day basis, right? So when I saw that, I must admit, I was like, okay, this guy, he has to be a lunatic. But what I want to know is, what is the idea behind eating with a baby spoon?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, like I come from Turkish descent. So when we eat, like when I've grown up, like we eat very, very quickly. Don't know if that's just my family or the way I eat or my dad eats, but we eat very quickly. So the thinking behind it was, I've tried this when I've dieted before and it works very, very well for me, is when I eat with a big spoon, I will fill that spoon up like two layers, right? And I'll just put a massive amount in my mouth. Won't even finish chewing, and I'll go again, and I'll go again. With baby spoon, it's not even a baby. You can use a baby spoon, but
Like
sometimes a
a
teaspoon.
teaspoon, a little spoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I did use a baby.
It's
I've
good.
used a baby spoon, like the green and blue
They're nice
colored
and
ones.
soft though, innit? They're like quite I
Absolutely,
love 'em.
bro. Yeah. But the thinking behind it is, especially within Islam as well. I'm following the Sunnah as well. Portion control is a big thing, and eating slowly is actually recommended. Because as we know, if we eat really quickly, it's going to cause some level of spike in our bloods anyway, especially if we're eating all of this, very nice, tasteful food. It's going to create those spikes. Whereas if you just eat slowly and in a smaller portion, it's healthier for us on the inside, but it actually fills you up. So if you basically eat slower, say if I had one bite of the teaspoon or baby spoon into my mouth and just, chewed it, enjoyed the taste of it, you probably realize you don't need as big as a plate as because your body will fill you up. Just what happens hormonally. Your ghrelin and leptin hormones, which are your hunger hormones, basically, will get that, stimulus that you're eating food and it's going into your, digestive system. And they'll basically tell you, get full quicker than you eating really quickly. That's the thinking behind it. I can understand why it seems a little bit crazy, but there is some kind of thought behind it. I didn't just throw out all my big spoons one day.
So what it is, it's like it's kind of psychologically, no, I mean, yeah, psychologically tricking you because of the amount of times the spoon goes up and down. With a baby spoon, obviously, it's gonna go up and down a lot more. So
Yeah, exactly. But it also works holistically as well in terms of your ghrelin and leptin hormones. They get the stimulus more more frequently if you were to speak. So, you're gonna feel fuller, like biologically and psychologically, you'll feel like you're eating more. And especially as I'm prepping for this photo shoot, like I just have to do it because I'm hungry. I'm hungry, bro. So, yeah, that's the magic behind the scenes, bro.
well, I'm glad that's cleared up because I genuinely thought, okay, this can't be right. Well, no, right now a bit more of a personal topic. Not personal, but a bit more touchy topic. Do you ever feel mentally pressured to stay in such a healthy shape because because you provide a fitness service and people see you as a trustworthy source? So if you kind of lose that, then you might lose credibility.
Absolutely, bro. 100%. I think as well, I have posted about this maybe in my early days of LinkedIn. I think I posted like never trust a fat personal trainer. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think if you're going to pay someone to do something, they have to have been able to achieve what you want. Maybe not down to the T, because everyone's goals are different, right? But you have to be in good shape. I don't feel mentally pressured by staying in shape because I believe it's my duty as a man to be strong and fit. I don't think like that at all. What I can sometimes agree with is, I want to, I want to go out for me and my wife. I want to get a dessert, tiramisu, whatever it is, you know, but the way I conduct my weekly, daily, hourly activities allows me to do so because I work so hard. I train hard, I walk a lot and very active. I can pretty much eat what I want to a certain extent. Not whenever I want to, obviously, there has to be some kind of balance, but there's a plan in place for me to do so. If I want to, for example, we went to the cinema maybe 2 nights ago, can have a nice blast. It's not going to kill me. And it didn't make any difference. The day after, I lost weight. So if you have the right plan and solution in place, there's no pressure attached to it because it's kind of automated. It's like an automated bot system where you're kind of running on autopilot, but it's important not to get too comfortable, which is what happened when I got married. And this happens to a lot of brothers where they actually come to me after they've got married and be like, bro, I've lost everything. I've got belly now. I've got boobs, all this stuff, bro. So, I can resonate with it as well because it happened to me, So I just think it's important to not feel that pressure. I see it as a duty as a man. Like, I think if everyone else had this mindset, especially guys, I think they go a lot further in life, I'll be honest. Because a lot of the time that I've noticed some people I've spoke with, not a lot, but, it kind of how do you say this respectfully? Not as masculine as they should be. They don't take on the pressures and responsibilities that come from being a man because the life of a man should not ever be easy. After the age of 18, maybe even before that, life isn't supposed to be easy and nice for a man. It's supposed to be difficult, but it just depends what kind of difficult you want. Do you want the difficulty of being a no one who's out of shape, isn't really making any money, doesn't really have a name for himself? Or do you want the difficulty of maintaining that physique so that you walk into a room and demand authority and respect straight away and you run a business that, makes you money on autopilot? Like, that's the difficult decision. That's the pressure. There's pressure in both situations. It's just what one you want to choose. And I think if everyone adopted that mindset, everyone would start some kind of business or try and get in shape. At least try. What's the worst that can happen? You end up like everyone else. That's the worst thing that's going to happen, bro. I just, that's the way I think. And that's the kind of the mindset I, transfer to my clients as well.
Now, a big part of maintaining that lifestyle and maintaining a good physique is bulking. Are you ever scared that a bulk, might go a bit too far? Are you ever scared that if you do take this bulk, actually no, let's say you are bulking, you're not going to be in the best shape of your life, but at the same time, you are a PT, you are an online coach, and people kind of have that reputation of you needing to stay in shape. Are you ever scared to bulk because of that?
No, I don't believe in bulking. I've changed my perception on it probably maybe 3-4 years ago. I think if you want to bulk, when you're a bodybuilder, right? So I've known guys that have competed. Like, I used to have a coach who was a bodybuilder and competed. these guys need to put on mass, like a lot of mass in, not that long of a period. By all means, they might bulk for 2-3 years, fine. Because they need it to show on stage, right? When they're obviously, showing off their muscles and what have you. And posing, whatever you want to call it. I'm not that big at bodybuilding, but still. So I don't believe in bulking. If you're an average guy who wants to get in shape, the best way to do it is do, I don't want to call it aggressive, but if you want to get in the shape of your life, you don't want to be a bodybuilder, you don't want to get fat, do an aggressive cut, strip down the body fat and build muscle from there. Because the human body, when it has lower levels of body fat, your testosterone is going to be higher, your cortisol levels are going to be lower. This automatically makes your body more adaptable to muscle gain. Okay, so if you want to get bigger, strip down first. By all means, you might be a little bit thinner than you want to be. Build the muscle from there and do kind of a lean bulk. Not a bulk, but a lean bulk. So maybe eat, maybe 100, 200 calories, maybe over maintenance. Eat the normal good amounts of protein. Don't go crazy with carbs or fats. Keep it all balanced. That's the best way to do it. Don't really agree with bulking, especially for executives, directors. It's just going to make them feel sluggish. And I can't provide a service that's going to make a business owner feel sluggish and, remove his capabilities of decision making, which could ultimately cost him the business. It's all about making something that is basically making you fire on all aspects. Turning up as the best husband, partner, executive, founder. That's the best way to go for things. Because, building muscle is all well and good, but do you want to be turning like a truck, or do you want to be like a Superman or Spider-Man or Batman? You want to be like that, right? That's my perspective anyway, bro.
Now, on a more happier note, congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you, bro.
Based on what you've said about her, by the way, I wish to have something like yours soon in the future. Mate, it's incredible. Honestly, incredible. Now, as an entrepreneur, we're always told, marry later on, first focus on the job, get financially stable, and then focus on the marriage side. However, you decided to get married quite early. How old are you now? Sorry if you don't mind me asking.
In the 3, bro.
And when did you get married?
6 months ago.
So when you were still 23, I'm assuming?
I was still 23.
Which is quite early on, as some people would say. Why did you decide to go against the curve and get married while still trying to maintain this business?
It's funny, bro. Probably about a year ago, maybe just over a year ago, maybe 13, 14 months ago, I was in Marbella for a business trip. I was with, I don't know if anyone knows, but I was with Rob Lipsett, who's a big Irish fitness influencer. I was with a lot of other coaches. We basically like a mastermind based on how to, optimize the business, give the best service to clients, and all these things we were going through, right? And I wouldn't say I had my heart broken, but I was speaking to a girl. I thought it was going to end in some form of, marriage proposal. But there were also some red flags that I didn't, identify, because obviously you're kind of blinded when you think you've, found someone. And it's kind of like honeymoon. I wouldn't say honeymoon. It wasn't like a serious thing, but obviously you kind of put your time into it. Like, I'm not going to say I was head over heels. Like, I'll be completely honest. I wasn't head over heels, but I was interested to some extent. But I wasn't blown away. But that ended. I'm not going to go into the reasons why. But there was a lot of things that, how is this censored at all? It's not, by the way, there's no censor. Okay. So I'm just gonna lay it out. Okay. So this girl was in trouble. Okay. Financially, right? She knew my business was doing quite well. She needed it for her something. She needed it for something, right? I'm not going to say exactly what, because it'll land me in trouble probably. Get a knock on my door or something. I'm moving out anyway, bro, so it's fine. Well, basically, the centre probably, I think, £3,000. This was about a week before I went to Marbella. So obviously I'd saved a decent amount of money, to go and connect with these guys, go on, by all means, these guys are multimillionaires. So, they have a lot of money. Dinner's not going to be cheap. So I prepped myself for it. When I got there, probably 2 days in, she texts me saying, it's not working. Let's just stop speaking. And that was it. And I was like, bro, I was walking down to the beach to have dinner on my own, get this message, and I was like, bro, so after I send you this money, that's when you call it quits. I get you. Okay. Anyway, basically, like, it's fine. Got no bad word to say about it. Like, I wish her all the best, whatever. But there was a time, and I actually got back to my apartment that evening, and I was just thinking, like, you know what? Like, I just need to just focus on this business. Like, the girl of my dreams, the one who's actually going to settle down with me, have every box ticked, is going to come around some point over the next 10 years, hopefully. So obviously, you never know, really, but hopefully. I prayed that night. I prayed for probably an hour, and I was just having a conversation with Allah and myself. And I was just saying, like, if marriage is for me, make it happen. If it's not, let me focus on the business. Don't let anything like this happen to me, please. Got back from Marbella. Maybe like 2 or 3 weeks later, I stumble across an old friend, who I knew from a friend's wife. So basically, the guy who I was living with last year, he got married. So I knew this friend 2-3 weeks after. It was his wife's friend. We're not friends anymore for certain reasons, but it's all good. And we just I can't believe I'm about to tell you this, bro. So basically, she basically puts a story up on her private Snapchat story. Private Snapchat story with just me on it. And I swiped up, and it was a video of her and her sister. And her and her sister actually plotted the whole thing, which is quite funny. We're still up about it today. And there was a video of them going to the cinema, and they say what film they were going to watch. I can't remember what film it was. And I swiped up, and by all means, bro, I got no game. Like, I don't know really how to chat to girls, I'll be honest. And I just said, what film are you watching? The guy would say, if I can get married, bro, to this amazing girl, everyone has hope, bro, because I just don't know how to talk to girls, bro, realistically. But yeah, and then after that, we started speaking, like, we met up, had like a few coffees and things, like, just chatting. And it got to a point where I was like, what do I do? Because obviously I prayed for this, but I don't know if it's the right thing for me right now. But I never had, like, what I just said, that never crossed my mind. Like, those thoughts were previously, but when I was meeting and, speaking with her, like, they didn't even cross my mind. It just felt like I was with, like, just normal. Just, I could do everything I needed to do, and she was respectful of it. Guaranteed at first she didn't really understand the business. She didn't. She's like, why are you messaging these people? Why are people asking you to do a poll? Why people won't buy a fitness program? They can just go on TikTok or whatever it is. It's then she starts to understand when people sign up, and she's like, oh, mad, I didn't realize people pay for this. And then very, very quickly we got married. Alhamdulillah, all went smooth. It was really, really nice. Met her family in Saudi. She has a very beautiful family on both sides. And one thing when I was speaking with her that actually made sense to me is I had this friend I haven't spoken to in ages. It's called Francesco. And his friend told me a story about his pal. His friend was making, £3,000-4,000 in his business. He got married. The next year, he was a millionaire. I don't think that's by coincidence. I think when you choose a life partner, whether you're a female or a guy and you're choosing a wife or a husband, I think that's single-handedly the most important decision of your life, because this person has to support you, they have to challenge you, and they have to make sure that you are emotionally sound, that you are okay as a person, not as a businessman or a coach, as a actual person. Because no one else is going to see the side of me that I show nobody else, right? So she does a lot for me in terms of my mental peace, my clarity, even to go as far as business decisions. She helps me do everything and she understands everything. And I genuinely believe that that came from God. I genuinely believe that came from God because I prayed for that and it happened 3 weeks later. And Hormozy says this a lot as well. Hormozy and Layla, both of those guys, they're married and they're business partners. Most of the time people say, no, it doesn't work. But those two guys are probably the most powerful business couple on the planet. And there is no way on earth they would be where they are probably without each other, to the extent that they are anyway. Because a lot of people behind the scenes don't see the stress that business owners go under. My clients don't see it. Prospects don't see it. So it's like you have to have that rock and that anchor behind you. Otherwise, I genuinely believe you're set up for failure. My business didn't scale until I got married. Well, scaled to the extent it has now. I was doing okay, but now it's doing a lot better, genuinely because of her. And I think you have to take your time with things. And if anyone is looking to get married, there's a very good book that we did before we got married. It's 101 questions to ask before you get engaged. We went through this at coffee shops, on FaceTime, on phone calls, and it asked difficult questions. How do you want to raise children? How is religion going to come into your marriage or kids? How are you going to raise them religiously? Things like this can ask. Who is expected to provide? Is your wife expected to work? How would you deal with conflict? Do you prefer to be left alone or do you prefer to solve it there and then on the spot? All these questions that not a lot of people think of, but we went through absolutely everything and it was all ticked. And I was like, what's kind of holding us back? Obviously in Islam as well, you know, we have to get, like, we're pushed to get married. You can't exactly be in a relationship with someone unless you're married to them. And I was like, you know what? I think this is the right person for me. Well, I know this is the right person for me. Let's do it. Leave the rest to God. And that's what I did. And it's helped a lot. So I can understand why people say leave bridge for later. I understand it because, you know, you have to put a lot of time into getting to know someone. You have to care for them. You have to take them out. You have to take them on holiday, nice places, wherever. But if you have someone who understands your business, the way your mind operates, the way your soul is, you know, aligned with life itself, think genuinely it's better. It's genuinely the best thing I've ever done in my life.
And it genuinely links back to what we were talking about before about surrounding yourself with the right people and see how much it elevates you as not only as a person, also with your business as well, and just every aspect of life.
100%. I think it's cool that you actually brought that round full circle because I've never thought of that myself. So when I removed myself from all these situations for obviously the good of, you know, myself and my soul, you can kind of see it's come around full circle to now this is the gold chest at the end, bro.
There we go. It all works out in the end.
That's it, bro.
That's what you have to follow. Now, with your company, you're called Sunnah. Well, sorry, Sunnah Service.
Service Coaching.
I keep getting mixed up with the
SSC, bro. You got SSC is all good.
So Sunnah Service Coaching. There we go. Now you use something called a Sunnah roadmap. Tell me about it.
This guy does his detective work,
Tell me
man.
about it.
That's cool, bro. That's cool. That's sick. So in terms of like a Sunnah roadmap, all that basically is like a phasing system. So we have kind of pillars in terms of what we do. So let's just take client A, for example, who wants to lose 20 kg in 6 months or 12 months, however long. He wants to reverse his diabetes. He wants to lose his belly fat, and he wants to feel the best he ever has been. And he wants to be someone who is attractive to his wife. Right? We've had this a lot where brothers do come in and they say, my wife isn't really attracted to me. She never wants to engage in sexual activities or whatever, which is totally understandable. And obviously we're here to help that problem. It's nothing that you should be ashamed of. It's just you need a few fixes to your life. That's it. In terms of the roadmap, it's just a phasing system. Usually we do 5 phases. So phase 1, for example, could be aggressive fat loss, where for 90 days, we stick you on a plan, change it obviously if needed, and we basically strip down all the body fat that we need to start actually changing your body. Phase 2 could be a little bit more of, if we need to cut the fat a little bit more. Obviously, some brothers are more overweight than others, so we might need to, which is fine. And then maybe phase 3, obviously phase 2 to continue it, habit training, getting structure in place, whatever. Phase 3 is kind of a molding phase. So we actually solidify these fat loss results. We might bring your food up a little bit as well, just to build, more muscle, kind of change your body in ways that you didn't think were going to be possible in the space of, 4 to 6 months. When we kind of go through all of this, kind of phase 5 is actually something that people don't believe all the time. And it's actually quite cool because when people actually achieve it, they're like, oh, it's crazy. It's actually the resetting of a human's biology. Now, when I say that, I pretty much mean by the end of, the 6 or 12 month period, however long somebody is with us, we mostly do 6 months, but sometimes we do 12. People want it for that long. Is we obviously, as I said at the start of the call, we're very analytical and very big on data. So we obviously get the bloods tested at the start and then obviously at the end as well. We also have I don't have it on right now, but a Whoop kind of health tracker. This tracks biological age, stress, even does some hormonal insights, does recovery, all these other things as well, sleep, blood, right? And then we also use something called equilibrium. Now, equilibrium is something that I believe that sets us apart, as well as the Whoop devices and the bloods, etc., because not a lot of coaches do this. But equilibrium basically gives the client a set of tests that they have to do every few months. And this basically can identify, obviously with my physiotherapy background as well as tried and tested, it works, where their weaknesses are in their body. So whether they have an imbalance of strength, unilaterally, so whether it's their left arm is a bit weaker or the right leg, right calf, wherever it is in the body, it will say that. And we can actually prescribe these exercises to make all the muscle bodies in the whole body all equal. So you will pretty much be like as perfect as comes to a human mechanical machine, I know that's kind of juxtaposition, but you know what I mean? So that's something else that we do. But when we say a human biology reset, is your hormones will be as optimized as they ever have been. Your body will look completely different. I aim to get people to look as good as they possibly can. And that is only a byproduct of the service we do. We don't actually aim for us to have a 6-pack or bigger biceps or become all this, lifting more weights or whatever. That is all just a byproduct of what we do. It's a byproduct of the planning, the training, the nutrition, the blood analytics, the biological age, and these things. And the main thing that we do aim for, I'm very proud to say this, is everyone that comes in has had an average age reduction of 7 years. Biologically, they've reduced their biological age by 7 years. Minimum. That's the average anyway.
Amazing.
You aim for more, but obviously 7 years is okay,
Yeah.
Live 7 years longer.
That's what I'm saying. That is mad.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But I would say, that's into, I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but that's kind of the road you go down in more detail.
So now that you kind of, you've explained each phase of the journey, You explained the meal prep side of things. You've explained the gym side of things. And I want to give you 2 minutes, and we're strict on 2 minutes. I want to give you 2 minutes to pitch to the audience your business. What you do, how you can help them, and also how they can get into contact with you.
Got you, bro. Appreciate you a lot, bro. So obviously, I am Aran, founder of Sunnah Service Coaching, and we pretty much help Muslims master their health and drop at least 20 pounds in 90 days using the SSC method. Okay. Now, in terms of who we help Muslim business owners, executives, directors, any high performing professional who is, burdened on time, doesn't want to meal prep, doesn't have time to work out, doesn't have time to meal prep, all of these other things, but also want to look their best for themselves, to turn up as the best father, the best parent, the best husband, spouse, etc. as well. And we do this through the system that I've just mentioned. And the way that we are different is we have limited access to analytics. So as I've already mentioned, you get a free Whoop when you join, you get free blood tests, and you get the equilibrium, so we can pretty much make you a Muslim mechanical machine. All whilst maintaining your faith and spiritual values as well. And to be honest, I don't think I need to sell it anymore. I'm okay. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you want to get in contact with me, go to my LinkedIn, which is Aran Işik. Go to my YouTube channel, which again is Aran Işik. And I will see you there, hopefully, inshallah.
Guys, Aaron's details will definitely be in the top of the description. I felt like I was watching a YouTube video. That was amazing.
I'm going to use that for my intro.
Oh, no, please. That was amazing. That was incredible. Right, Aaron, what is your vision for the business? Let's say the next 5 years now. Where would you like it to be? What's your vision?
I'm going to keep it simple, to be honest. I want to become the best online health coach for Muslims. I believe I already am. And be a world-renowned owner for making a change in my community. I think in terms of goals for myself, I actually already wrote these out and they're already on my whiteboard. So in 5 years, I want the business to be, a 7-figure business. And I want to be building mosques around the world, whether this is in Turkey, Palestine, wherever, and obviously making a change to my community in and of itself, not just in terms of health, but, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me and blessed me with, an abundance of things that people can only wish for from where I came from. And the beauty that I can do is to help the people that don't have access to this. And I would push that to everyone as well. Anyone, whoever's watching, Muslim or not, I would always say, please just think of the brothers and sisters who are, suffering wherever in the world. It doesn't have to be the first name that pops up into your head. It can be where you come from. Turkey, for example, we have a lot of earthquakes, so we want to help our brothers and sisters out there and donate food, donate money, even if it's just £10 goes a lot. £30, I think, feeds 4 orphans. So I think I would like to become more of a charitable man, more than I am now. I think that's something everyone can do, because in 5 years' time, how much is £10 really going to be worth to you? You're not really going to remember it, So I always think, business is business, but I think there are a lot of more important things in the world. And I think it's time for the audience, however big, however small, understands that as well, because we can be here we might not be here tomorrow. So we want to leave this world with, good intentioned hearts and to have done the best we can for those who are less fortunate, to be honest. And eventually I would like to help people in those countries. Just go out, fly out, do a little workout class, make something fun, bring them some healthy biryani. That's obviously something we can do, bro. But I would say in terms of values and things, bro, I'm a very simple guy. I just want to help people. Regardless, it's their decision if they help themselves or not. But the least they can do if they don't help themselves, help other people.
I was gonna say I really respect your intentions, your morals, and what you live for. And whatever it is you want to do in the future, I want to make sure that we can help you in some sort of way, no matter if it's even small or, a big change. So, as a closing tradition, we ask the guests that come onto our podcast if there is a pain point that they are currently having in their business, that maybe someone in our community can offer their services or even just provide some advice, if you want to overcome it. So, Aaron, I want to give you that same chance. If you are experiencing any pain points or even just need some advice, please let the audience know.
Okay, I would say I think one thing that we are experiencing at the moment is, you know, I would say maybe messaging people. Maybe there's some kind of, if someone offers, a lead generation kind of platform, or, a like an appointment setting, or these kinds of roles, it's probably something we will look into as, we continue to grow, because at the moment I do all the messaging myself. There's nobody else who does it. So if, anyone is watching this and I have reached out to you, or you reached out to me, like, it is me speaking to you. But other than that, I would potentially say if there is a fitness coach as well, this could be a good opportunity for them to, get started. Is we are looking very, very close into the future, maybe even now, if it fits all parties, to actually come in and act as a fitness coach and coach our clients, which we will obviously post on our social media, but you are more than welcome to post them on yours as well. But they will have our branding on it. So you are part of our business. You can't just say they're your own. So yeah, just fitness coach, by all means, get in touch. I'm happy to have a conversation. It could be useful for, guys. I'll probably say if you have some experience would be preferred. If you're just getting started, get in touch with me. If there is someone, get into, we can have a conversation. I won't pitch them just yet.
Guys, you heard it from himself. If you know anyone or if you are that person in that position, leave a comment. Leave a comment. We'll make sure to forward it to Aaron. And also, his contact details are in the description below as well, so you can get in touch with him. But Aaron, I have to say, this might have been one of my most enjoyable episodes I've done. I don't think there's anything that we've missed. I think we've covered everything.
I think we've covered everything, bro. And as I said to you before we had this call, bro, this is the first podcast I've done probably in about a year, bro. And it shows a lot of myself, the kind of progression I have made, because I know when I did the other ones, it was a lot different to this. The conversations we've gone into, bro, have been really helpful, if anything, as well on my behalf. It's kind of allowed me to have that reflection, which I usually do on a Sunday, and you've done it for me a week early, bro. So appreciate it,
You're
man.
welcome. Anytime, anytime. Listen, it's been an absolute honor, and I really hope nothing but the best for you, your wife, your business, and just life in general.
Absolutely, bro. You too, man.
Thank you very much for taking the time, Aaron.
Thank you, bro.
See you,
Respect,
man.
man.
Thank you. Bye bye.